I remember the exact moment my perfectly organized life started unraveling. It was a Thursday night, 11:47 p.m., and I was already in my pajamas, the ones with little avocados on them, when my phone buzzed on the nightstand. Hannah's name lit up the screen. I almost didn't answer. We'd been friends since college, and Hannah only called this late when something was wrong. The last time, her car had broken down on I-35 at midnight. The time before that, she'd locked herself out of her apartment in nothing but a towel. "Hey, what's up?" I asked, trying to sound casual. There was a pause, then a sniffle. "Al..." Her voice cracked. "Can I come over? Leave a comment telling me which city you're listening from so I can see how far this beautiful story is reaching. And take the chance to subscribe to the channel, helping me reach 3,000 subscribers." 30 minutes later, I was standing in my doorway, watching Hannah drag a single duffel bag and a pillow that looked like it had been through a war. Her eyes were red, her blonde hair was in a messy bun that screamed, "I gave up," and she was wearing an oversized hoodie that I recognized as her ex-boyfriend's. "Tyler and I are done," she said, her voice flat. For real this time. I pulled her inside before she could finish the sentence. "You're staying here. As long as you need." She dropped her bag on the floor of my living room and looked around my tiny but cozy apartment. The string lights I'd hung along the walls, the monstera plant in the corner that I was desperately trying to keep alive, the stack of design magazines on the coffee table. "I don't want to be a burden." "You're not a burden. You're my best friend, and that couch is actually pretty comfortable. I tested it myself during my I'm moving and have no furniture phase." She laughed, a small, fragile sound, and that was enough for me. That first night, I made her tea, wrapped her in my softest blanket, and watched her fall asleep on the couch while reruns of The Office played quietly in the background. I went to bed feeling like a good friend, a helpful friend, a friend who had boundaries and a perfectly functional sofa bed. I was so naive. The second night, I woke up at 3:14 a.m. to the sound of footsteps. My bedroom door creaked open, and a silhouette appeared in the doorway. "Hannah?" I mumbled, half asleep. "I can't sleep," she whispered. "The couch feels weird, and it's dark, and I keep thinking about stuff." I should have said, "Let me get you a melatonin gummy." I should have said, "Want me to turn on the nightlight in the living room?" I should have said literally anything that didn't involve lifting my blanket and patting the empty space next to me. Instead, I said, "Come here." She slipped into my bed like she'd been doing it for years. Her feet were freezing. She always has cold feet, and she pressed them against my calves without warning. "Your feet are like ice cubes," I hissed. "Shut up, your legs are warm." She fell asleep in about 90 seconds. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, hyper-aware of the fact that my best friend was sharing my pillow and breathing softly into the crook of my neck. "This is fine," I told myself. "This is a normal friend thing. Girls do this all the time. Sleepovers, cuddling, platonic bed sharing." I ignored the tiny voice in my head that whispered, "Since when do you have sleepovers with a 27-year-old woman?" By night 5, it had become routine. We'd watch a movie on the couch, I'd yawn and say I was going to bed, and Hannah would follow me like a lost puppy. She'd climb in on the left side, my left side, and within minutes, she'd be pressed against my back, her arm draped over my waist. I stopped questioning it, stopped analyzing it. I just let it happen. But then, the little things started getting to me, like how she always stole the blanket in her sleep, and I'd wake up shivering but didn't care because she looked so peaceful. Or how she'd murmur my name sometimes in her dreams, and my heart would do this stupid little flip. Or how one morning, I woke up to find her face inches from mine, her breath warm on my lips, and I didn't pull away. I just lay there, frozen, wondering if she was awake too. And if she was, What was she thinking? It was a Tuesday when things got complicated. I woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of Hannah humming in the kitchen. For a moment, I just lay there, enjoying the warmth of the bed and the faint scent of her shampoo on the pillow next to me. Then I heard her voice. "Good morning, sleepyhead." I shuffled into the kitchen, still half asleep, and found her standing at the stove in one of my t-shirts, the gray one with the faded logo from a 5K run I did 4 years ago. She was making pancakes. "Since when do you cook?" I asked, rubbing my eyes. "Since I decided you deserve breakfast for putting up with my nighttime blanket theft." She flipped a pancake with surprising skill. "Sit down. Eat. You have a big presentation today, right?" I blinked. "How did you know about that?" "Because you told me last night, while you were half asleep. You said, and I quote, 'If Mr. Henderson asks me to change the font one more time, I'm going to print his tie.'" I groaned. "I said that out loud." "You also said I have pretty eyelashes." My face went red. "I did not." "You absolutely did." It was adorable. She slid a plate of pancakes in front of me and sat down across the table, a smirk playing on her lips. "So, are you nervous about the presentation?" "I wasn't until you reminded me." "You'll do great. You're the most talented designer I know." It was such a simple thing to say, but the way she said it, with this quiet certainty, like there was no doubt in her mind, made my chest tighten. I focused on my pancakes to avoid making eye contact. The presentation went well. Really well, actually. Mr. Henderson loved the new branding mock-ups, and my boss actually said, "Great work," without adding a passive-aggressive "but." I was floating on cloud 9 when I got home. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. "Hannah?" No answer. I found a note on the kitchen counter, written in her messy handwriting. "Al. Went to Tyler's to pick up the rest of my stuff. He said he'd leave it in the lobby so I wouldn't have to see him. Should be back by 6. Save me some dinner?" I checked my phone. 7:30 p.m. I called her, straight to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. By 8 p.m., I was pacing the living room, running through worst-case scenarios. What if Tyler had been there? What if he'd said something to her? What if she'd decided to go back to him? What if she wasn't coming back at all? The door opened at 8:17. Hannah walked in looking exhausted, carrying a cardboard box that she set down on the floor. Her eyes met mine, and she managed a weak smile. "Sorry I'm late. Tyler. He wanted to talk. I told him there was nothing to talk about. Are you okay?" She shrugged. "I will be." She looked around the apartment. Our apartment, it felt like now. And her expression softened. "Thanks for letting me stay, Al. I don't know what I would have done without you. You can stay as long as you want." "I know." She walked over and hugged me, her arms wrapping around my neck, her face buried in my shoulder. "I know." That night, she climbed into bed beside me as usual, but this time, when she pressed her cold feet against my legs, I didn't complain. I just pulled her closer, my arm around her waist, her back against my chest, and for the first time, I let myself wonder, what if this isn't just about needing a place to stay? 2 weeks turned into 3. 3 turned into a month. And somewhere in between, Hannah stopped being a guest and started being something else. She got a key to the apartment. She bought her own shampoo and left it in my shower. She started organizing the fridge, my chaotic Post-it note-covered fridge, into neat sections labeled dairy, produce, and leftovers that Alice will forget about until they grow fur. "Hey, that's offensive," I said when I first saw the labels. "Is it, though? You literally had a container of pasta from 3 weeks ago hiding behind the ketchup. It was marinating. It was a biohazard." But she said it with a smile, and I couldn't stay mad. The almost kiss happened on a Saturday night in late October, Austin was finally cooling down after a brutal summer, and we'd decided to have a movie marathon. Hannah picked 10 Things I Hate About You, her favorite, and we were both curled up on the couch under the same blanket. Somewhere around the scene where Heath Ledger sings on the bleachers, I felt her head rest on my shoulder. Her hand found mine under the blanket, fingers intertwining with my own. "Al," she said softly. "Yeah?" "I think I'm ready to start looking for my own place." My heart dropped. "Oh, that's great." She lifted her head and looked at me, her eyes searching mine. "Is it? I mean, if that's what you want. What if it's not what I want?" The movie kept playing. I couldn't hear it anymore. All I could hear was my own heartbeat, loud and insistent, and the way her hand was still holding mine. "Hannah, what are you saying?" She leaned closer. I leaned closer. Her lips were inches from mine, and I could see the hesitation in her eyes, the fear, the hope. And then my phone rang. We jumped apart like we'd been electrocuted. I grabbed my phone, saw it was my mom, and sent it to voicemail without a word. When I looked back at Hannah, she was staring at the TV, her cheeks flushed. "I should probably go to bed," she said quietly. "Yeah, me too." She got up and walked to the bedroom. I stayed on the couch for another 20 minutes, staring at the credits, replaying the moment over and over in my head. She almost kissed me. Or did I almost kiss her? Does it matter? I finally went to bed. She was already under the covers, facing the wall. I slipped in beside her, keeping a careful distance. "Good night, Al," she whispered. "Good night, Hannah." Neither of us slept well that night. The next morning, the apartment felt different, charged, like the air itself was holding its breath. Hannah was already in the kitchen when I woke up, but this time there were no pancakes, no humming. She was sitting at the table with a cup of coffee, staring at the wall. "Hey," I said cautiously. "Hey." I poured myself a cup of coffee and sat across from her. The silence stretched on for what felt like an eternity. "About last night," we both said at the same time. We laughed, nervous, awkward laughs. "You go first," I said. Hannah took a deep breath. "I've been doing a lot of thinking. About Tyler, about why I stayed with him for so long, about why it was so easy to leave." She paused. "And I think I know why." "Why?" "Because I wasn't in love with him. Not really." She looked at me, and her eyes were shining. "I think I've been in love with someone else for a while now. I just didn't want to admit it because I was scared." My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear myself think. "Who?" "You, Alice. I'm in love with you." The words hung in the air between us, fragile and terrifying and beautiful. I wanted to say something profound, something romantic, something that would make her cry happy tears and kiss me and we'd live happily ever after. Instead, I said, "You have terrible timing, you know that?" She blinked. "What?" "I've been lying awake for a month trying to figure out if you felt the same way. I almost told you like 5 times, but I kept chickening out because I thought I was reading the signs wrong." "Wait, you feel the same?" "Of course I feel the same. I let you steal my blankets every night. I bought your favorite ice cream and hid it in the back of the freezer so I wouldn't eat it. I labeled the fridge." She laughed, that real, full laugh that made her eyes crinkle. "You labeled the fridge because I forced you to." "Under duress, yes, but I kept the labels. That's love." She got up, walked around the table and sat on my lap. "You're an idiot. I'm your idiot." And then she kissed me. It was soft and sweet, and tasted like coffee, and I think I forgot how to breathe for a solid 5 seconds. When we finally pulled apart, she was grinning. "So," she said, Does this mean I can stop sleeping on the couch? You haven't slept on the couch in a month. Exactly. I'm just making it official. 6 months later, Hannah officially moved in. Not as a guest, not as a temporary roommate situation, but as my girlfriend, with her name on the lease and her clothes taking over half the closet. We told our friends at a dinner party. My mom cried happy tears. Hannah's mom said she'd always suspected. Tyler sent a passive-aggressive text that we both ignored. The best part, though, was the little things. Like how she still stole the blankets, but now I bought extra ones just so I could watch her cocoon herself in them. Like how she started leaving little sticky notes on the bathroom mirror. You're beautiful, and don't forget to buy more pancake mix, and I love you, even though you left your wet towel on the floor again. Like how every single night she'd climb into bed beside me, press her cold feet against my legs, and I'd pull her close without a second thought. "Hey, Al," she said one night, her voice sleepy. "Yeah? Thanks for not stopping me." "Stopping you from what?" She snuggled closer, her lips brushing my ear. "From getting into your bed that first night. You could have kicked me out. Told me to go back to the couch, but you didn't. I couldn't have stopped you even if I wanted to. You're like a heat-seeking missile for body warmth." She laughed and punched my arm lightly. "I'm being serious." "I know." I kissed the top of her head. "I'm glad you came in. I'm glad you stayed. And I'm really, really glad you're still here." "Me too." She fell asleep a few minutes later, her hand resting on my chest, her breathing slow and even. I lay there, watching the moonlight filter through the curtains, and thought about how strange life was. A few months ago, I was a single graphic designer with a perfectly organized life and a very clear set of boundaries. Now I was sharing my bed, my apartment, and my heart with a woman who couldn't cook pancakes without burning at least one, who talked in her sleep, mostly about penguins for some reason, and who had completely, utterly, and irrevocably turned my world upside down. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way.